Vice Admiral Chief of Staff of Naval Command, Vice Admiral Sharma, Director General Naval Projects Mumbai, Rear Admiral Ajay Patni, the Admiral Superintendent of the Naval Dockyard, Rear Admiral Shantanu Jha, Flag Officer of Maharashtra Naval Area. We've got several flag officers, commanding officers, officers in charge of various naval units, and of course all of them are with me to be with you for this media interaction. Let me begin by extending to all of you a very warm welcome to the Navy Day press conference in this splendid venue, like has been explained to you. It's called Sumeru. This of course was commissioned on the 22nd of November by the Chief of the Naval Staff. I also take this opportunity to wish all of you, and through you all the citizens of India, a very happy Navy Day 2025 in advance. Of course, as has been the normal SOP, let me make a statement. It's not so brief, but it covers everything that Western Naval Command has done over the past 1 year and give you a flavor of what we've done and why is that relevant. So, and then of course I'd be happy to take your questions. Ladies and gentlemen, as the world of course grapples with geopolitical uncertainty and flux, national security environments are characterized by unpredictability and volatility, and the global economic environment is challenged by protectionism, stagnation and military conflict. India stands apart as a nation that is determined to continue its march towards national development, resurgence, consolidation, growth and transformation. The Indian Armed Forces, of course, will no doubt play its assigned role in this journey. On this Navy Day, the Indian Navy stands up as a forward-looking and rapidly transforming times. As you're aware, the Indian Navy observes the Navy Day on the 4th of December every year to commemorate the daring missile attacks that left Karachi ablaze and destroyed several enemy warships in the 1971 India-Pakistan War. On this day, we not only relive that glorious chapter in the history of the Indian Navy, but also express our deep gratitude to and salute the supreme sacrifice made by our brave predecessors in service of the nation. This is also a day on which we introspect deeply and rededicate ourselves to securing a national maritime interest from the increasing number of threats and challenges that face us today. The importance of the maritime domain, of course, remains undiminished in the prevailing security environment and has a direct bearing on the economic prosperity and overall development of our country. Despite external aggression and internal challenges, India continues to be a beacon of stability and prosperity because of the maritime security that it enjoys. As we march in unison to realize a collective aspiration of becoming Viksit Bharat by 2047, it is important that we continue ensuring effective maritime security in the Indian Ocean region so that we make our nation stronger, more resilient and more self-confident in the coming decades. This has been said many times before, but it's important to say it once again on Navy Day. There is no doubt that our economic prosperity, strategic independence and comprehensive national power are deeply intertwined with the seas, and therefore it is imperative that we closely monitor the multiplicity of trends, threats and challenges in the geopolitical and geo-economic environment and secure our nation and its people effectively. Over the last 1 year, the Indian Navy has been deployed extensively across the full spectrum of naval operations. As the Commander-in-Chief, it gives me immense satisfaction to inform you that frontline ships, submarines and aircraft of the Western Naval Command have been central to this effort. Our focus on combat readiness, ordnance centricity, technical maintenance and indigenization has been a vital enabler in this regard. The near continuous presence of our units on mission-based deployments across our areas of interest continue to contribute to peace and stability in our neighborhood and strengthen the Indian Navy's position as first responder and preferred security partner in the Indian Ocean region. Within a couple of hours of the devastating cyclone Ditwa hitting the Sri Lankan coast, for instance, mission deployed Vikrant and Udayagiri and their fleet of helicopters were pressed into action to provide assistance and relief material to that country. This is just yet another example of how your Navy responds and contributes not just to nation building but also to forging deeper bonds with our partners and friends in the immediate neighborhood. In the year gone by, the operational tempo of the Indian Navy has remained very high. The Western Naval Command in particular conducted many operations successfully in close coordination with other services and security agencies. To begin with, the largest theatre-level operational readiness exercise, which is the Tropics, was conducted from January to March 2025 with a total of 67 ships, 10 submarines and more than 90 aircraft participating in it. The exercise saw sustained operations of platforms at sea, large-scale mobilization of assets and forward deployment of aircraft and uncrewed systems. This of course was followed soon by Operation Sindoor that was executed by the Indian Armed Forces in the backdrop of the dastardly terrorist attacks at Belgaum in April 25. Operation Sindoor saw an unprecedented mobilization of over 30 ships and submarines within a very short period during which our frontline ships were poised for combat off the Makran coast under the umbrella of the Vikrant Carrier Battle Group. The offensive deployment and posturing of the Navy also included a series of successful weapon firings in April and forced the Pakistani Navy to remain close to its own coast. In fact, the threat of offensive action by the Indian Navy could be considered one of the important factors in Pakistan requesting for a ceasefire. Ladies and gentlemen, let there be no doubt, Operation Sindoor is ongoing and the Indian Navy and the Western Naval Command stand ready in all respects to undertake any mission in support of our national maritime interests. A natural outcome of Operation Sindoor has been the effort of the three services to strengthen jointness and integration. Exercise Trishul, conducted by the Western Naval Command in close coordination with the Southern Army Command and the Southwestern Air Command, provided us valuable lessons in identifying capability gaps, streamlining SOPs, and generating joint effects on the battlefield. The exercise also witnessed seamless integration of the Armed Forces Special Operations Division, Defence Space and Cyber Agencies, the Coast Guard, and the Border Security Force. With over 35,000 troops of the Indian Army and over 500 vehicles, including tanks and BMPs, over 25 ships and submarines of the Indian Navy, and over 50 aircraft from the Indian Air Force, this exercise has been extremely successful in meeting its objectives that were set for it by the three services. Meanwhile, non-traditional threats such as maritime terrorism, piracy, robbery, illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, and trafficking of humans, drugs, and arms continue to be on the rise and necessitate the Indian Navy to continue adopting a comprehensive approach in dealing with maritime security. The Western Naval Command remains deeply invested in countering these threats by deploying its platforms under the overall umbrella of Operation Sindoor that caters to anti-piracy, anti-narcotics, and countering threats emanating from attacks on our innocent seafarers. In the last 2 years, a total of 41 anti-piracy deployments have been undertaken with more than 180 personnel rescued, 8 piracy attacks thwarted, 62 pirates apprehended, and safe passage provided to over 125 million metric tons of cargo bound for Indian ports. We have also been successful in our approach to anti-narcotics operations with close to 7,000 kgs of narcotics worth over 40,000 crores seized since February 2024. Of these, INS Tarkash, a frontline frigate of the Western Fleet, seized 2,500 kgs on 31st March 2025 alone. In a diplomatic pursuit, the Western Naval Command engaged actively with friendly foreign navies and continued to foster cooperation and deeper bonds in consonance with the national security and foreign policy objectives. Two major initiatives by the Indian Navy and the Western Naval Command are of importance for the uniqueness. The first was the Africa-India Key Maritime Engagement, or AKIM, which is also a Sanskrit word that stands for unity. This was conducted jointly by the Indian Navy and the Tanzanian Navy, which was the host on behalf of the African nations, in April this year, and saw the participation of 10 African countries. It also included a defense expo in the harbour that showcased our indigenous technologies and products and culminated in an exercise at sea. The second was the deployment of INS Sunayana as Indian Ocean Ship Sagar from April to May 25 with a combined crew of 44 personnel belonging to 9 different friendly foreign countries. Both of these initiatives expanded the scale and scope of our engagement with the littorals of the Indian Ocean region and enhanced our credibility as a preferred security partner. Apart from all of these, Exercise Varuna with the French Navy and the Carrier Strike Group in March, exercise with UNAV 4 ships in May 25, exercise Bright Star with the Egyptian Navy in September, exercise Bunkan with the Royal Navy Carrier Strike Group, and the maiden bilateral exercise with the Hellenic Navy in October. All of these expanded our maritime footprint far beyond our shores and deepened our engagement with these nations. The Indian Navy became an active member of the Combined Maritime Force in November 2023. Since then, our ships have participated in 10 missions and our aircraft have flown over 20 sorties as part of the CMF. Based on requests from other nations, we also deploy our assets for joint surveillance and patrol of littoral nations. We also remain engaged with other nations by providing focused naval training and capacity building through transfer of military equipment. We are also working closely with other navies to enhance the maritime capabilities by gifting them Indian-made ships and craft. The Indian Navy is also a preferred security partner for hydrographic cooperation, wherein our ships provide assistance to a number of countries in conducting hydrographic surveys. Over the past decade, there have been increasing instances of natural disasters and regional instabilities, necessitating increased deployment of the Indian Navy for HADR and non-combatant evacuation operations. For instance, our warships were standing by to evacuate Indian nationals in June 25 from Iran and Israel in the backdrop of the short conflict between the two nations. As brought out earlier, Operation Sagar Bandhu in Sri Lanka is a real-time example of our ability to respond and support our neighbors and partners in their hour of need. The Indian Navy has also consistently provided assistance to merchant ships in distress at sea. The recent instances of firefighting assistance provided to merchant ship Van High on 9th of June off the Kerala coast, including evacuation of personnel, merchant vessel Yi Sheikh 6 of the Oman coast on 29th June, and merchant tanker Falcon on 20th October 25 are examples of our ability to respond effectively and help seafarers regardless of their nationalities. Many of our operations have been formally acknowledged, the latest being recognition by the IMO for INS Teague for rescuing 9 Indian crew from capsized tanker Prestige Falcon in July 2024. These successful missions have underscored the position of the Indian Navy as a first responder and preferred security partner in the Indian Ocean region. In addition to our military and diplomatic roles, coastal security continued to occupy a place of high importance for us. The Western Naval Command worked closely with the Indian Coast Guard, Marine Police and other agencies and conducted coastal security exercises regularly along all coastal states and coastal union territories under its jurisdiction. Our endeavour this year has been to enhance interagency coordination, consolidate the multi-layer system of surveillance and improve standard operating procedures among all agencies involved in the constabulary role. In this regard, it may interest you that the National Maritime Domain Awareness Project, sanctioned by the CCS in 2022, will enhance information sharing and coordination amongst all the principal maritime stakeholders. This project, steered by the Indian Navy, seeks to facilitate collation of data held with 7 ministries and over 15 agencies at the NMDA Center at Gurugram and its dissemination to relevant agencies for enhanced situation awareness in the maritime domain. Contract for the NMDA project has been concluded on the 8th of July 2025 and as per CCS approved timelines, we expect it to be completed by end 2027. The Indian Navy also spearheads efforts to strengthen Atmanirbhar Bharat mission by focusing on indigenization. Indian shipyards have delivered more than 40 ships and submarines in the past decade. This year alone, we have commissioned 11 ships, and presently we have 51 ships under construction in various Indian shipyards. The indigenous content of our ships has also increased steadily to 90% in the float segment, 60% in the move segment, and over 50% in the fight segment. In addition, the Indian Navy is proactively pursuing 5 positive indigenization lists that have been promulgated by the Ministry of Defence through the Directorate of Indigenization at Naval Headquarters and indigenization units at Command Headquarters. 218 of the 519 items from the list are being pursued by the Navy alone, and of these, AON has been accorded for 111 items, of which 60 have been contracted already. As far as innovation goes, Swaminathan has been a flagship program since 2022 that brings together talent from across the country, comprising academia, startups, MSMEs, technocrats, and the industry at large. Swaminathan has expanded our technical outreach significantly by engaging over 150 MSMEs and startups through 198 challenges, resulting in the award of 28 AONs worth rupees 2,750 crores. The fact that the Indian Navy alone caters to 35% of the 565 IDEX challenges announced thus far highlights our deep commitment to the national effort of supporting innovation through handholding and technology incubation. The Indian Navy is a microcosm of India, with personnel from different parts of the country living as one family, held together by bonds of camaraderie and the sense of common purpose. The workforce of highly talented and well-trained men and women of the command continue to be at the center of our overall combat capability, and we continue to invest deeply in upskilling them and providing them the opportunities they deserve. Therefore, physical fitness, sports, and adventure activities remain prominent in the Western Naval Command's annual calendar. The Command expanded the scope of its outreach to naval veterans and ex-servicemen through multifarious initiatives such as the Veterans Day Parade, celebration of age-related milestones, and seminars such as the one conducted to celebrate the life and times of Admiral Dawson recently. As far as outreach to Mumbai and Mumbaikars is concerned, the Western Naval Command Marathon, beating the retreat ceremony, band concerts at various locations in the city, and visits to naval establishments and units are central to our effort to develop maritime consciousness amongst the city's populace. Let me assure you that these activities are not limited only to the state of Maharashtra. Our outreach to the people and coastal communities of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, and Karnataka has continued with high enthusiasm and commitment in the last year. For instance, the Command has carried out extensive community interaction programs during the monsoon this year to engage with local fishing communities, covering 102 villages in all 4 coastal states. Some of our decommissioned ships, submarines, and aircraft are in the process of being converted into museums or exhibits that seek to promote maritime consciousness and encourage young citizens of our country to join the armed forces. Another significant initiative of the Command is the proactive support that it has provided to the sea trials of INSV Kaundinya, the state ship that was inducted into the Indian Navy on 21st May 2025. Very soon, this unique vessel will showcase the maritime traditions of the country and will set sail in the seas once again during our maiden voyage. And we expect that it will sail from Mandvi in Gujarat to Muscat in Oman, retracing those monsoon trade routes. One of the striking features of this year has been the Honorable Prime Minister's Day at Sea that the Western Naval Command was privileged to host on 19th and 20th October 2025. The presence of the Honorable Prime Minister on the day of the nation's biggest festival, Diwali, simply brought joy to the men and women of a fine service and continues to serve as a key motivator for all of us. Finally, as you you have seen, we have had a busy 2025. The year has been professionally enriching and rewarding to all personnel of the Western Naval Command. We remain stood to, as always, and intend to consolidate the gains of the last 1 year to strengthen our combat readiness, sharpen our response mechanisms, and serve the Navy and the nation selflessly by upholding the values of duty, honor, and courage. I conclude by once again assuring you that the Western Naval Command is combat ready and will leave no stone unturned in securing our national maritime interests anytime, anywhere, and anyhow. Thank you very much. Jai Hind. Can you hear me? Is this on?
Thank you, sir. The floor is now open for questions. We'll just pass on the mics to you.
Yes, please.
Hi sir, Shama from Doordarshan here.
Yes.
No,
So you mentioned that this year alone 11 ships were commissioned and 51 are under construction. How does Western Naval Command prepare to integrate these growing fleet, this particular indigenous growing fleet?
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Yes, related. Anything else related to induction of ships, submarines?
And also a total number of ships, submarines.
Still.
Okay. Any other questions related to our force levels, inductions, so that I can take all of them in one shot? Yogesh?
The mic over there.
So, are you creating any more infrastructure in Mumbai Harbour for the growing network?
Okay. Fair question. Okay. So, we have inducted
Still.
We're getting ready for induction now. We've got 51 ships that have already been ordered in various shipyards. All of these are a part of our Maritime Capabilities Perspective Plan. And the Maritime Capabilities Perspective Plan is a comprehensive plan that not only plans the induction of vessels, but also the induction of infrastructure that are required for them. As you know, Mumbai, of course, is our principal naval base. But we have Karwar as well as a huge naval base coming up. So we have sufficient infrastructure which is commensurate, in fact more than commensurate with our current growth plans. The Indian Navy, Yogesh, today boasts of a fleet strength of 138 ships or thereabouts. We hope to ramp this number up to about 150 or so soon, maybe 200 by the year 2030 and maybe 240. That is a part of the Maritime Capabilities Perspective Plan. This is also in accordance with our modernization plan of the Indian Navy, which runs actually in 3 different strands. The first strand, of course, is to upgrade wherever we can through technological upgrade our existing fleet. And the second strand is to replace the existing fleet with more capable ships to perform the same role. And the third strand, of course, is to expand the fleet size commensurate with our operational demands. Like all of you know, the Indian Navy is deployed today like it has never deployed before. We have presence in almost all parts of the world at all times of the year. We have mission-based deployments in which we maintain permanent presence of Indian naval ships in various parts of the Indian Ocean region. The demands on our operations and the requirement of the Indian Navy to be deployed have increased. The nation expects the Navy to be present wherever our national interests lie, and so our tasking has expanded. Also, given the threat environment and the complexity that it brings to the Indian Ocean region, Maritime Capabilities Perspective Plan covers to those as well. So, the Indian Navy has been an expanding force for the last 2 or 3 decades, and we will see that momentum continuing into the next few decades. Like I said before, the Indian Navy's vision for itself is to build a balanced fleet of about 230-240 ships that we will pursue with the government. But for the time being, we already have 51 ships that are under order, and we have several other projects that have obtained AON, which we will pursue in the coming months, sign contracts and try and induct them. Induction of new capability and modernization of the fleet are ongoing activities, like you know. So this will be an ongoing endeavor of the Indian Navy, and our effort will be to continuously upgrade, modernize the fleet, and add to it numbers depending on how we find the balance of our forces. Thank you.
So the second part of the question was infrastructure.
So the infrastructure at Mumbai, of course, we are expanding our infrastructure at Mumbai as well. Mumbai, of course, has been home to the Indian Navy from the time of our independence, and we've had very, very good infrastructure here. We boast of technical infrastructure that can maintain every single element of our weapons and systems in Mumbai. We are building more berthing space, if that is your specific question, for us to berth our ships here. But for the time being, for our fleet size, we've got adequate berthing space here. And with the Mumbai and Karwar complex combined, we have adequate berthing space, not only for the ships that we have currently, but also for the ships that are going to be inducted in the future.
Sir, the next question from Z News, followed by Times. Ashwin Pandey, Z News. सर आपने कहा कि ऑपरेशन सिंदूर अभी भी चल रहा है. जब ऑपरेशन सिंदूर की शुरुआत हुई थी तो उसमें बहुत सी खबरें आ रही थी कि कराची में अटैक, बहुत सी चीज़ें थी. उस वक्त वेस्टर्न नेवल कमांड का क्या तैयारी थी, क्या उस वक्त आपका प्लान ऑफ एक्शन था और किस तरह से अभी चल रहा है, उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा डिटेल.
Anybody else with respect to Sindoor? Yes, please.
सर मैं राकेश त्रिवेदी, टाइम्स नव भारत से. आपने ऑपरेशन सिंदूर में इंडियन नेवी के डिप्लॉयमेंट के बारे में अपने स्पीच में बताया था. मेरा सवाल ये है कि जो इंटेल इनपुट्स अभी सजेस्ट करते हैं कि ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के बाद कुछ जो असामाजिक तत्व हैं उसके लिए खासतौर से नेवल के जो वाइटल इंस्टॉलेशन हैं, इवन वेसल्स और इवन स्टाफ, दे आर एट रिस्क. तो उसको ध्यान में रखते हुए आप पाकिस्तान के नेचर को ध्यान में रखते हुए ऐसे इंटेल इनपुट को किस तरीके से, क्या आप इससे सहमत हैं और इससे निपटने के लिए क्या तैयारियाँ हैं, क्या कोई खास एडवाइजरी इशू की जा रही है विद इन स्टाफ, विद इन द टीम?
Okay, anybody else?
Myself, Samir Karve from Maharashtra Times. This is regarding after Operation Sindoor. What were the lessons learned to improve since two-front war is always a threat that we may going through? Also, addition to that was Turkey's ship which was deployed in Pakistan. This was one question related to Operation Sindoor. And with the conflict scenario, only the second question was that with Chinese Navy, PLA Navy, inducting and commissioning Fujian, the new aircraft carrier with electromagnetic catapult and such systems, how does the threat scenario aggravates in IOR?
Sindoor?
Please pass on the mic. Kindly speak into the mic.
CNBC TV 18. We all saw during Operation Sindoor, like any other modern warfare, unmanned aerial vehicles were a big part of it. And recently it has been reported that Indian Navy for the first time is going to procure Heron MKs again. So if you could get some more details on that, project size, by when will we get these UAVs, and some details on that.
The MQ-9B?
Sorry, sir.
Did you speak of the MQ? What did you speak about?
Heron MK2, sir.
Heron Mark 2, okay.
Yes.
Okay, should I take this on? Okay, the first thing of course is that ये आपको जैसे पहले भी हमने बताया है, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर एक नज़रिया था जिसमें इंडियन आर्मी, इंडियन नेवी, इंडियन एयरफोर्स साथ में मिलकर कैसे उन्होंने काम किए थे उन दिनों में. जबकि ज़्यादातर जैसे पहले भी मैंने खुद कहा एक आध ओकेजन पर, हमारे जो पॉलिटिकल डायरेक्शन बिल्कुल क्लियर था उस समय कि हमारे एम्स एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या थे हमको पहले से पता था. और हमारे मुख्य एम ये था कि उनका टेररिस्ट और उनके टेररिस्ट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को निकालने के लिए. उसके बाद should we escalate the conflict, expand the conflict? We were told that our aim was simply to remove the terrorist infrastructure. That was done. जहाँ तक नेवी और नेवी का डिप्लॉयमेंट का सवाल है, यदि वहाँ पर उस समय कोई एस्केलेशन हो जाता और और वो वहाँ से if the situation was moving out of control, then the navy would have swung into action. But there is no action of the Indian Armed Forces that happens with one service involved alone, because you don't know where that will spiral. Because who maintains an escalation control? हमने जाके उनको मारा, उन्होंने फिर से एक और हमला किया, हमने फिर से एक और हमला किया. So where does the escalation control stop? So the Navy could have managed that escalation control by being deployed in the front line. And जहाँ तक हमारी समझ है, the Navy was deployed in strength, and the Navy was ready to strike. So the people who are watching these kind of things in the leadership on the other side, they saw the Navy coming, and जैसे आपने कहा था कि उस समय रूमर्स भी फैल गए थे कि कराची में अटैक हो गया था, but उनको पोटेंशियल पता था कि यदि if the Navy had to enter operations, then what the Navy is capable of doing and what the Navy could have struck. If the Navy would have struck, of course, the escalation would have gone much beyond what we saw. But we feel that the Navy was instrumental in maintaining that escalation control and posing the threat to them. And because we posed the threat to them, we feel that they sought the ceasefire. Became very close to carrying out the strike. And we were thinking that we took off some of the aircraft, the Air Force carried out some strikes across the border on the airfields. They struck back, and we were saying if there was going to be further escalation, then we would have gone inside. Our view is that they came to know that the Navy is moving in, and therefore they asked for the ceasefire. Intelligence, we get a lot of intelligence inputs. न केवल ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान, परंतु हमारे हर रोज़ की ज़िंदगी में हमको बहुत सारे इंटेलिजेंस इनपुट्स मिलते हैं, बिकॉज पाकिस्तान के रवैया यही रहा है कि हमेशा ही कि जब भी संभव हो जाके कुछ इंडियन लैंड पे आके कोई टेररिस्ट अटैक करे, तो इस तरीके से बहुत सारे इंटेलिजेंस इनपुट्स हमें मिलते हैं हर रोज़, और उनको हम मल्टी एजेंसी के तौर पर बहुत अच्छी तरीके से एनालाइज करते हैं, कौन से एक्शनेबल हैं, कौन सा एक्शनेबल नहीं है, और प्रिवेंटिव एक्शन हम ले लेते हैं। सिंदूर तो हाल में हुआ है, बट ये तो हमारे बहुत पहले से ये सिलसिला चल रहा है, और हर इंटेल इनपुट जो हमको मिलता है वो मल्टी एजेंसी एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन स्ट्रक्चर है, उसके द्वारा पहले एनालाइज करते हैं हम, एंड इफ इट पर्टेन्स टू अस, ऑफ कोर्स वी टेक लॉट ऑफ प्रिवेंटिव एक्शन. But the Indian Navy's intelligence unit is very strongly enmeshed with the intelligence units of other national agencies, the IB, the CBI, and everybody else. And so we work very closely with national. We get a lot of national intelligence. We get a lot of intelligence inputs ourselves, because हम भी उसको ढूंढते रहते हैं कि वो क्या कह रहे हैं, वो कैसे कह रहे हैं. That also we share in the multi-agency construct, and it's all discussed threadbare. And then we take preventive action. But I can tell you one thing, that from 26/11, the coordination among national intelligence agencies has increased quite a lot. And the regular meetings, we exchange information, we exchange inputs. I think the seamlessness of exchange of information has really improved. And so we are in a much better state now in our intelligence setup. आपको पता है कि even in this 10/11 जो Red Fort में, in front of Red Fort, जो suicide attack हुआ था, that was just a small part of a larger story. But that larger story was tracked. It was tracked. A lot of people apprehended the same morning, the previous morning, and we recovered a lot of explosives. So that is a very good example of how our intelligence network is working very well and very effectively. The third mission was about Turkish ships. So we had always expected that there would be some collusion, certainly between China and Pakistan, and Turkey may be a spoiler, was our expectation based on Turkey's behavior on a lot of subcontinental issues, their public utterances. So we had expected that there would be some kind of collusion. It was only left for us to see, when action started, how would that collusion manifest. And so it manifested in the form of hardware transfer, even while the operations were on. So in a way we were not surprised, but it confirmed what we thought would happen. And it showed us clearly what are the possibilities in the future as well. So we need to keep that into account and take it into account. The Turkish naval ship visiting Pakistan was, in a way, was pre-planned, and we had tracked it. So we don't see much from that visit alone. But the fact that Turkey colluded with Pakistan was something that, in a way, we had expected, and we saw the manifestation of that happening. In terms of UAVs, the recent conflicts have indicated to us that new technologies, whenever they come, whenever they become cost effective, they are utilized by everybody. UAV is a low cost, highly effective weapon system these days. I think the defining feature of today is that new technologies have got so democratized, that they are available to everybody. They are available to the good people and the bad people simultaneously, and at very cost-effective prices. They can be all bought off the shelf, and so anybody who can deploy them can deploy them. So we've seen in the Russia-Ukraine war, in the Israel-Hamas war, UAVs have been used a lot to very good effect. Of course, the low-cost weapons that can have significant impact if they're masked in swarms and all of that. So we have taken cognizance of all of that. We are developing our own UAV force. Our UAV force is 25, 30 years old, and Herons and Herons and searchers were inducted I think in 2004, 2005, around that era. So from then we've been operating UAVs for surveillance on various kinds of different kinds of activities. So Heron Mark IIs are one step that we take in that direction, but we've also signed last year a contract with the United States for the supply of MQ-9Bs. Those are huge, those are big UAVs as well. But we are making inroads into induction of UAVs, in fact uncrewed systems in all dimensions, in all domains of warfare, in significant numbers and for different kinds of purposes. So we are well seized of the potential of uncrewed systems, and we are investing a lot on them, and in the years to come we really see a very significant induction of those into our force mix. The Chinese Fujian, should I take it now or should I take it later?
Sir, in case there are any more questions on Sindoor,
Yeah, anything on Sindoor?
Kindly
Yes.
pass on the mic to Economic.
Hi sir, thank you for having us. So this is Rashmi Rajput from the Economic Times. So just on the same question on Operation Sindoor, what are your key takeaways from the operation, and what changes has it brought in the rules of engagement in the Arabian Sea? What are your learnings from the operations?
Frankly, from where I sit in my job as the CNC of the Western Naval Command, we are an operational command, so we were given our orders and we had to do what we had to do. And simply because in my previous job, I was on the sidelines and seeing how this was done, the key takeaway for me personally, is that there was very, very good political military synergy at the highest level. That picture which had the Prime Minister sitting with the External Affairs Minister, the Defense Minister, the National Security Advisor, the Defense Secretary, the Foreign Secretary, the Service Chief, the CDS. It probably had everybody who could have contributed to a decision making at that time in one room. And they met multiple times. Of course, you and me will not be privy to what was discussed there. But just that picture, says 1,000 words on the civil-military synergy at the highest level. So we had absolutely no doubt on what the political intent of the whole operation was. It makes it so much easier for the military people to just go and execute what has been politically decided. There was absolutely zero ambiguity. So that clarity is very important. We know what are the limits, what are the aims and objectives, and therefore what we need to do. I also believe that the military leadership provided the political leadership options on what can be done and what could not be done. And the military leadership was given, to the best of my knowledge, all freedom to carry out what was required, provided they stuck to the guardrails that the political leadership gave. So the first takeaway is, of course, that it was super for us to see that. The second thing is the synergy among the armed forces itself, because there was seamless information exchange. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force knew exactly what each one was doing, and if we had to complement each other's operations, of course these operations were very, very short, but should they have prolonged, and then we could have very easily complemented each other's operations and added value to that. So that synergy was very, very good. The third, of course, is that our precision weapons, they operated very, very well. We had pinpoint targets, and we normally, when we go with such clear political guidance, you want to make sure that you don't have any unnecessary collateral damage. And we're very proud of the fact that there was zero collateral damage weapons went to hit exactly where they were meant to hit, cause the damage that were intended to cause without causing any other damage. So our precision weapons work very well. The timing, the decision making, our response mechanism, when they retaliated with a huge number of drones of all kinds of origins, we were able to handle all of them and make sure that we lost nothing, So I think there were plenty of takeaways on the strategic level, on the operational level, and the tactical level. We continue to work on them, and it has added a lot of value to our awareness of what the adversary is, what it's going to be, and I'm sure it will add a lot of significance to how we're going to fight our wars in the future.
So, any more on Sindoor, or we move on to the PLA?
So,
Sindoor? I think you already asked me. Let's move on to News 18 in case you have anything else.
Not take to Sindoor.
Then let's move
so
on.
one question I had about last year there was an accident.
We'll come to that. There are a couple of questions pending. We'll come to that.
I'm going nowhere. I will answer all your questions today. Just let's go sequence so that we finish once our topic will come.
सर ऑपरेशन सिंदूर पर एक छोटा सा सवाल है. आपने अपने बताया कि आप ऐसे एकदम स्ट्राइक के नज़दीक थे. एक इन्फॉर्मल सवाल ये भी है कि क्या ये ख्वाहिश है कि अगली बार मौका मिले तो और अच्छा एक्शन हमें दिखाने का मौका मिले, दुश्मन को धूल चमाए.
यदि आप नेवी में होते तो आप जिंदगी भर एक पल के लिए आप तैयारी करते हो, वो पल आपको मिलेगा नहीं तो कैसे लगेगा आपको? हम लोग चाहते हैं कि जब भी कोई एक्शन हो हम भी उसमें शामिल हो, सभी लोग चाहते होंगे. और बट हमें पता है कि हमारा रोल क्या है, और हमारे अगर हम मौजूद हो जाते हैं उस समय एक्शन में तो उसका रिपरकशन क्या हो सकता है हमें पता है. तो हमें पहले भी पता था कि यदि हमें अंदर जाने के लिए आदेश मिलेगा तो वो जो ऑपरेशन का जो स्कोप है वो बढ़ जाएगा, हमें पता था. तो वी वर वेटिंग फॉर द राइट टाइम, एंड अगर फिर से मौका मिलेगा ज़रूर जाएंगे. बल्कि हम मौके के इंतज़ार में हैं.
Sir, one last question from Sindoor, PTI please. It's Prashant from the PTI. So you mentioned that 30 ships and submarines were mobilized within a short period of time, and you were very poised to combat of the coast of Makran. An operational question: how close were you, and how quickly you mobilized? And yes.
So I mean, I just said it like that, and वो हंसी मजाक में हम लोग बात करते हैं, but what is serious business? What is serious business? And the repercussions of anything that you do could go well beyond your immediate act. We need to remain cognizant of that. We need to act with a lot of responsibility, and we need to do what we do very carefully, because it has a lot of repercussions for the nation and for the people. By mobilizing fast, what I meant was, to get ships together, you have a peacetime posture and you mobilize into a wartime posture. That includes loading of ammunition, getting things ready and all of that, and moving on, because once you go out, you don't want to come back till you have fulfilled your role. So if you've got to sustain yourself out sea for a prolonged duration, then you've got to be ready for that. All ships may not always be in that position, so we need to come and do that. We need to load our weapons, we need to turn around weapons and all of that. So that we did very, very quickly, and we could put 30 ships out together. For any navy in the world to have 30 ships that are operational, that can be loaded and be put out at a short notice of 4 or 5 or 6 days is a big deal anywhere in the world. And the fact that we could do it, we could turn around the ships very, very quickly. Ships that had some repairs that were pending, those repairs were done very quickly and sent out. Ships that needed to have some maintenance work done, maintenance work was done, they were pushed out quickly. Ships that had to replace some machinery, spares and all that, those were replaced. Ships that had to come and load up some spares and go, they had to do, people that had to turn around their own crew, that was done. So, a ship has many parts, and a ship to be ready to go out has to prepare. Normally you get mobilization time. This time because, intentionally the mobilization time was kept short because the objectives were short. But we didn't have the luxury of mobilizing short. We have to mobilize fully because we don't know how long we're going to stay, what's going to happen. And so we could mobilize very, very fast, and we're very proud of that. We learned a lot of lessons in doing that, and we have strengthened our own SOPs. So we are in a much better position now than we were before.
So there was this question on Fujian, induction of Fujians. In case there are any more questions on PLA Navy?
Any more in Chinese Navy?
Another question?
We'll come to that.
Should I take it on then?
Yes.
Chinese Navy, one question. So the Chinese Navy has been growing at an astonishing pace for the last 2 or 3 decades. All of you know that in 2022, the Chinese Navy overtook the US Navy and has become the biggest Navy in the world. It has over 390 ships, and that number is only growing. The number is not just growing only in terms of the numbers of platforms, but also the capabilities and the sophistication of each platforms. So not only in terms of numbers, but also in terms of the capability of each platform, the Chinese Navy has grown tremendously. And just to give an analogy, one of the commonly said things is that the Chinese Navy has added the equivalent of the Indian Navy just in the last 1 decade to its force levels. So that is the pace at which the Chinese Navy has grown. This has been said multiple times before, but it's important to bear in mind that a threat for a military man is a function of capability and intent. The Chinese Navy's capability has been growing in leaps and bounds. The intent of the Chinese Navy or of China, is not so known because it's not so clear, and therefore, it manifests as a threat, and or a challenge, and we've got to be cognizant of the potential of that force coming into the Indian Ocean region and residing here. We've seen Chinese presence in various forms, manifesting in the form of warships, bases, research ships, fishery research ships, space, event tracking ships, various kinds of ships. So we've seen Chinese presence in a variety of forms in the Indian Ocean region on a near consistent basis. So of course we track the Chinese because we track every extra-regional force that comes here. We find it necessary to maintain what we call maritime domain awareness. We find it necessary as a big navy, as a responsible navy, and as a responsible nation in the Indian Ocean region to keep track of who's coming and who's going in our waters. And so any ship that's coming into our waters, we keep track of them, where they've come from, where they're going, what they're doing. This entire thing is called maritime domain awareness. We maintain this on a 24/7 basis, and we keep watching Chinese ships as well as we watch all other ships. The increase in the Chinese Navy's capability has been watched by us, and we have factored for them in our own capability development plans. The Fujian, of course, it was commissioned recently, but it has been in the building for a few years. We've been tracking the development of that. It has not come as a surprise to us that it's been launched with the evolved system of launching aircraft. It's a tremendous capability. It's a big ship. So we'll have to wait and watch and see when the ship attains its full operational capabilities. And of course, we need to be ready for whatever challenge that manifests for the Indian Navy, and we're preparing towards that.
We have a question by ANI followed by ABP News.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Ranjit Singh from ANI News. Sir, as you talked about the synergy about civilians and military leadership and political leadership, we hope and expect that we are soon going to have a theatre command. But before that, we had joint exercises just before Operation Sindoor and after Sindoor, Tropex and Trishul. So how these exercises are helping Navy in its capabilities and in terms of coordination with other segments of our military, and how do you expect about theatre command coming?
Any other questions related to this topic? Okay, there is no single operation that's fought by one service alone. Every operation has a dimension of land warfare, air warfare, and maritime warfare. So that is a given for us. Every opportunity we get to exercise with the Army and Air Force adds so much more value because people change, people move, equipment changes, tactics change. We've got new inputs on how the enemy fights, what the enemy has. So our operational planning process is very dynamic, and it takes into account a lot of factors: time, space, force, and all of that, terrain, all of that. So when we say we need to gain synergy, in our view, just exercising once or twice in a year is not enough. Any number of times, there is nothing called the maximum number of times you can operate. Every time we get an opportunity, we make use of the opportunity. There are different forces, different troops, different occasions, different times of the year. So we learn new lessons. Overall, there's a solid recognition that the three forces need to operate together, and we need to make our own battle plans in our own environments. But those battle plans, form a subset of our overall plan, and all of us contribute to that wherever we can. We also phase and sequence of operations depending on how our national leadership wants it, and we try and see whether we can complement and supplement the operations of other services correctly by doing our own thing. So there's a matter of synchronization, there's a matter of sequencing, there's a matter of simultaneity, and all of that. All of that is military jargon, but we do all that when we do these synergy exercises. So I think that every time we learn new lessons, every time we find that our established SOPs need a little bit of change, our established procedures need a little bit of change, our doctrines need a little bit of review. So we do that depending on plenty of variable factors that make operational plans. In terms of theaterization, I don't know if it's within my pay grade to make a comment on when the theaters are going to be announced. But certainly, the armed forces have been working towards this. The government has made it a mandate of the armed forces to have theaters. What model the theaters are going to come in, when they're going to come in, is a matter of detail. But I know that there's a lot of intellectual energy that has been invested in making models, several models. Obviously, everybody wants us to carve out an Indian model because there are plenty of models in the world. While we can learn from other models, we want to have our own model that will work within our own, quality and our own nation. So I think I can't say there's a search for an Indian model. I think there are a couple of Indian models that have already been conceived, and they have been discussed in Delhi. I'm not privy to all of them, but I know that the Indian Armed Forces are very serious and establishing theatres. In what form and when, that will be decided by people in Delhi.
Maybe.
Good afternoon, sir. Mr. से मेरा पहला सवाल है, पिछले हफ्ते पाकिस्तान की नेवी ने एक एंटी शिप बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल का सक्सेसफुल परीक्षण किया. उनका क्लेम है कि इसकी मैक्स स्पीड बहुत है और पाकिस्तान मेड है. इसी इंडियन नेवी किस तरह से देखती है, पहला. और दूसरा क्वेश्चन है कि टर्की ने भी एक अनमैन्ड एयर टू एयर किल ड्रोन से किया है, जो कि माना जा रहा है कि दुनिया में पहला देश है जिसने ऐसा किया है. और जिस प्रकार से हम देखते हैं टर्की पाकिस्तान को मदद करता है, तो इन दोनों डेवलपमेंट्स को इंडियन नेवी किस तरह से देखती है?
Any related questions? Yes, please.
सर, जिस सिलसिले में देखें कि हम पाकिस्तान या फिर दूसरी जो नेबरिंग कंट्रीज उन पर नजर रखते हैं कि उनमें आर्मी चीफ चेंज हो रहा है, नेवी चीफ चेंज हो रहा है. स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन से पाकिस्तान को लेकर है. आसिफ मुनीर जो CDF बनने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, उनकी गवर्नमेंट भी थोड़ी आने कर रही है कि वो CDF ना बने. अगर इन केस आसिफ मुनीर CDF बनते हैं, चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस फोर्सेस की सब चीज उनके हाथ में आ जाएगी, एयरफोर्स, नेवी और आर्मी, तो उसको हम किस नजर से देखते हैं?
थैंक यू. सो सबसे पहले जो उन्होंने मिसाइल टेस्ट किया था, उस मिसाइल का नाम है P282. उसके बारे में हमको पहले से पता था, और आपको ये जानकर खुशी होगी कि हमने उसके पूरे फायरिंग जो ट्रायल उन्होंने किया था उसको हमने मॉनिटर भी किया था लाइव. जैसे उन्होंने फायर किया, हमने उस मिसाइल को देखा, जैसे मिसाइल ने अपना परफॉर्मेंस दिया उसको भी हमने देखा है. क्योंकि हमको पहले से ही जानकारी थी इसके बारे में. हमने पहले से ही हमारे यूनिट्स को हमने तैनात किए थे वहाँ पर जहाँ पर वो टेस्ट होने वाला था. तो हमने देखा है वो बहुत ही एक नया कैपेबिलिटी है. हालांकि वो लोग कह रहे हैं कि वो एक इंडिजिनस मिसाइल है. जहाँ तक हमारी जानकारी है वो शायद इंडिजिनस नहीं है, परंतु अगर वो कहते हैं इंडिजिनस है तो मान लेते हैं कि वो इंडिजिनस है. बट दिस वाज द फर्स्ट टेस्ट. नॉर्मली ऐसे टेक्नोलॉजीज़ को इंटर करने में कई टेस्ट को करने की ज़रूरत होती है. एक उन्होंने किया है, हम इस डेवलपमेंट को बहुत ही नज़दीक से मॉनिटर कर रहे हैं। यदि वो लोग उसको इंडक्ट करते हैं तो we'll have to certainly take them into account in our own plans and we'll have to see how we can counter them. But a missile is a missile. You know, a missile can fly fast. This flew at hypersonic speeds. At the end, that missile brings an explosive to your forces. You have to be able to make sure you protect your forces from that explosive, you know, wherever that missile is launched from. This is a new kind of missile, and we know that this missile is likely to be inducted. These kind of missiles are already available in the vicinity in our neighborhood. So we have plans to tackle these missiles. Those plans will be extended to this missile as well. जहाँ तक टर्की का जो unmanned air-to-air kill था, unmanned platform is really a different kind of platform. There's a manned platform that can carry out an air-to-air kill. उस तरीके से एक unmanned platform ने air-to-air kill किया था. It is a good technology, and the technology has been demonstrated very well. We have monitored this as well. Does it make any difference to what we will do? It does not matter because only the platform has changed. वो threat जो है वो threat वैसे ही रहेगा. जो manned aircraft जो करने वाले हैं वो unmanned aircraft करेंगे शायद अभी. तो उसको हमें ध्यान में रखना चाहिए in making all our plans. So I think it doesn't make any material difference to us. But certainly it's a good technology that has been demonstrated, and we are keeping a track of where this is going and how they may utilize it and integrate it into the battle plans. जहाँ तक आसिफ मुनीर, जनरल आसिफ मुनीर का सवाल है, वो CDF मेरे ख्याल से ऑलरेडी बन चुके हैं. एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट उनका हो गया है और उनके वो क्या बनते हैं क्या नहीं बनते हैं वो उनके अंदरूनी मामला है. पाकिस्तान में जो उनको करना चाहिए वो करेंगे. What does it mean to us? We know that the Pakistani armed forces, एक बहुत ही दिलचस्प आर्टिकल मैंने कल हाल में ही पढ़ा था 3-4 दिन पहले. मिस्टर अजय बिसारिया जो इंडियन हाई कमिश्नर पाकिस्तान में थी, उन्होंने लिखा था about the repercussions of all of this, and he ends his it's a center op-ed in the Times of India a few days back, and he actually says that the Pakistani army used to be the deep state or a state within a state, but now it turns out that the Pakistani army is the state. There's no other state other than the Pakistani army. So that is a reality we have to live with. How Pakistan governs itself, what kind of internal power equations they have, is for them to decide. How it matters to us is, how those power structures impact our national security. We know that Pakistan has a historic view on India and what it wants to do to India. So we have to be ready. Whether it's Asif Munir or somebody else, whatever they do, we have to be ready. And we are watching that. And so, because of his new elevated position as CDF, if they want to be a little more assertive, then in our view at least, they will know what India is if they try to do something that they must not. And maybe then they may be compelled to review their own internal mechanisms after that.
So we are running short on time, so in case you permit, we'll take last 2 questions, one from NDTV followed by Pakistan Times.
I have one question. Last year there was an accident on Bucha.
Please speak into the mic, please.
Last year there was an accident off Bucha Island wherein a naval vessel was being tried. So the Board of Inquiry has completed its report, submitted it to the West Naval Command. What went wrong and what are the lessons learned?
So exactly, you have said the exact word. It was an accident, and all of us know what an accident is. An accident is an unintended event. It happened, and it's an unfortunate event. There are 2 simultaneous legal judicial processes that are going on with respect to that accident alone. One, of course, is the Naval Board of Inquiry. And the Board of Inquiry, as you know, in the Navy is largely constituted for fact-finding. What went wrong, how did it happen, all of that. So that Board of Inquiry has been concluded in the Western Naval Command and has been sent to Naval Headquarters. And that Board of Inquiry is being examined at Headquarters. And we don't implement anything, we don't decide on what we've learned till the Board of Inquiry proceedings are approved. Because, Board of Inquiry is done by a group of people. And they place a lot of evidence and they come to their own findings and conclusions. Those are examined at various levels and say whether we agree or not agree with those things. till the NHU approves that, we're not in any position to say exactly what happened and, what we found and, what lesson we have implemented. But the second thing is more important. There's a civil case also going on this. This is sub judice. And there as well, the civil investigating agencies will ask for a lot of opinion, a lot of evidence, and they will have something. So actually, it was an accident. It happened. Unfortunate. A lot of people lost their lives. And we are very, very sad about that incident. But at the moment, we are not in any position, A, to comment on that because we don't know what the legal process will throw up. And two, what exactly happened needs to be established by the evidence that has been gathered. So I'm not privy to that yet. But I can tell you this, that we have implemented a couple of measures that make sure that the risks of these things happening in Mumbai Harbour are reduced significantly because Mumbai Harbour is a very narrow harbour that has a lot of cross-channel traffic, and that's part of daily life. And we have to carry out trials. We have to, the Navy is located here. The Navy has boats. The boats have to carry out trials. So we established new SOPs. We've established areas in which these trials can be done. We're trying to de-risk these trials to the extent that is possible. We also have SOPs in which we will intimate all people that we are carrying out trials here so that we can keep clear of them, they can keep clear of us. We'll also speak to the MPPA, get from them a sense of what the traffic is, what time of the day, what time of the night they have higher traffic, so that we can at least de-risk these kind of trials and make sure that the risk of these things happening are minimized in the future.
Right, so last question from NDTV. Good afternoon, sir. Saurabh from NDTV. So, over the last year or so, the political events in a neighboring country has meant that the Pakistan Navy and Bangladesh Navy now have closer cooperation. Pakistan Navy ships docking in Bangladesh. The possibility of a two-pronged war for the Navy, both on the eastern front and the western front, now is almost there. I mean, if there is a conflict. In that situation, how does the Western Naval Command sort of readjust, realign to this new paradigm that's emerged in this area?
So, when you say two-front war, do you mean Bangladesh and Pakistan? No? Jointly.
And the visits of the Pakistan Naval Chief to Bangladesh, almost announcing all plans.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting development. There are nations that broke apart because of many historical factors. They're interacting a lot more now than they have in the last so many decades. It's an interesting development, but the fact of the matter is, Pakistan and Bangladesh are both sovereign nations, and they are free to decide who they want to engage with, and if they want to engage with each other, I think there's very little we can do as an independent sovereign nation. But as a Navy, we're watching this, obviously with a lot of interest. We don't see any risk we see no reason why we should get into any operations with the Bangladeshi Navy, or the Bangladeshi Navy should get into any operations with us. Because Bangladesh is a very valued neighbor, friendly neighbor. We work a lot with the Bangladeshi Navy. We do a lot of joint things together. To the best of my knowledge, we share very, very good political, cultural, economic relations with Bangladesh. So we don't see any threat of Bangladesh turning hostile with respect to India, at all. So we don't see the Bangladeshi Navy being an unfriendly Navy with us. We don't see that possibility at the moment. But a two-front war is something that we should be ready for, because we fight the Indian Navy in one contiguous ocean. What is in the west can go to the east, and what is in the east can come to the west. As far as the Western Naval Command is concerned, I have a jurisdiction, and we carry out operations on the Western Seaboard. I have an operational jurisdiction that has been given to me by the Navy, by the Chief of Naval Staff, and my operations will largely be guided by what task is given by the Chief of Naval Staff, and so we don't know where operations may be conducted, but if the Western Naval Command is expected to carry out operations on the eastern seaboard, we will certainly be ready for it, and we will do that. There's no problem.
Thank you so much, sir. I think it's time now to call curtains to the media interaction. We may, however, continue the discussions over the informal get-together and lunch. On behalf of the Commander-in-Chief, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the members of the media for for the excellent support extended to the Indian Navy over the years, and especially in the run-up to the Navy Day of 2025. May I now quickly request the flag officers to rise and pose for photographs.
Yes, but before that, can I just say that, we have said this many times. Can I make a statement? This is funny. I'm trying to say something. You're not listening to me. We say this many times that the Indian Navy is Indian Navy, and because we operate largely beyond the horizon, and a lot of people don't know what we do. Our public interaction and public interface is very important as an element of us sharing with our countrymen what we do and educating them on what we do. The Navy Week and the Navy Day and the activities that surround the Navy, the meeting retreat, the marathon and all of that gives us an opportunity of interacting with our countrymen. And I think, you as our friends in this endeavor could also carry good stories of what the Navy does, so that our countrymen know what the Navy does. If finally it is their Navy, we're running it on their behalf. So the Navy's good message, the Navy's good work, wherever you can, you please carry it to the people of India so that they get educated. They know, they get inspired with what the Navy does, and they get a lot more maritime conscious than they are now. Of course, what the Navy needs to do to improve its operational abilities, its operational SOPs and all that. If you have any suggestions, of course, I'm quite happy to talk to you about that and learn from you what the Navy needs to do. But if you know the Navy does some good work, my request is please put it out to the people of India so that they know that they've got a good Navy, they've got a Navy that's respected across the world. And for among people who watch these kind of things across the world, the man and machine combined with the Indian Navy represents, is something that's respected all over the world simply because of the kind of people we are and the work that we do around the clock. We are in the Gulf of Aden from 2008. We are perhaps the only Navy that dives into harm's way to save others. I don't know if any other Navy has done the kind of work we have done. At the cost of risking the lives of our own people, we've gone and helped other navies in that area where they've been attacked by the Houthis, there's fire on board, with dangerous cargo on board and all that. I don't know if any other Navy has stuck its neck out and gone into harm's way to help other people. Our Navy does it. Because it's hundreds and thousands of miles away from here, a lot of our country people don't know it. We rely on people like you to take these stories to them so that they know that they have a good Navy. They're proud of the Navy. They come and join the Navy in big numbers. Even if they don't join the Navy in big numbers, they are inspired to contribute to the national security effort in some way or the other. You can do that, so I request you to do that, and I wish you once again the very best of luck. Thank you so much for joining such large numbers, and we'll interact over lunch.
The photographers can kindly come forward.
सेशन पार्टी ना बाबा ये खाली बसा सर ओवर है प्रैक्टिस खाली बस